Over the last few weeks, Jailbreak's revival has been unfolding in real time, as the community's been reacting to Asimo's commitment to returning the game to its former glory. Now obviously with this in mind, the topic of a new robbery has constantly been coming up, and it seems like it's going to happen sooner or later by the vague responses Asimo's been giving on Twitter. So today it's time to explore 5 possible outcomes for Jailbreak's next robbery, going in an order from least ambitious to the absolute most ambitious they could possibly do. So to begin, let's start at tier 1, the small store. Can you believe it's been a whole 8 years since our last Jailbreak small store? It has been that long since we've gotten a small store. During the time Crit6 was hired by Badimo, a lot of people thought we'd get a third one, as historically it's always been one for each dev. However, Crit6 left Badimo after a while and small stores just kinda stayed dormant. But now with a new employee Epic Tank on the team, it seems time for Jailbreak to finally add that third small store. But there's just one question: where to put it?
It's me, guys, Real Estate Gone here. Today, we're gonna find the top 3 locations to plonk a small store. Number 1, Crater City. This entire city is underutilized. Seriously, there has to be something else to do in the city because the fact is, a lot of it is just giant props. It's a little bit dull for Jailbreak, and honestly, I could see it in this building, or even this building. The second location, why not the Trade Coast? This area has some prop houses, an actual house, and the trade teleport. Why not put an interesting small store like a surf shack or something interesting around here and replace some of the prop houses? To be honest, it's a perfect contrast as the gas station is isolated and the donut store is right in the town. So this one being in a pretty deserted town is a great blend of the two. And I couldn't find a third location, so that's all. Now it's time to think about what the store would actually sell. A few concepts on Reddit suggest a cafe, a grocery store, or just another gas station. Honestly, in my personal idea, an electronics store could be a good idea, but that would only be if it would be in the city. Make it give a bit more than both the gas and the donut store, and the whole point of the store would be to sell items like the megaphone, the revamped phone, and possibly some future items as well. Make it a hub to get some of Jailbreak's more niche and unused tools. I genuinely think that could be a shout here. So yeah, that's the first scenario ticked off, as now we move on to tier 2. Tier 2 is probably the most insignificant in the list, but it still would give more than a small store. What is tier 2? Well, it's a new vault floor. This could go for either the jewelry store or the bank, but preferably the bank. It has been 2 years since we got a new bank vault, which was the going up floor in Rising City that was added in the May 2022 monthly update. A new bank vault could genuinely be anything, so let's go ahead and check out some of the best concepts. Firstly, we have an upstairs floor for Crater Bank, much like the one for the Rising City. Got the same sleek design and honestly just looks like a decent concept, something to give Crater Bank some needed variation. It's also pretty unique because it's got a puzzle to disable in order to exit rather than just blowing it up with dynamite, which I'd say is more fitting for a luxury vault. Now apart from this submission, there's not many other bank vaults, and honestly I don't blame some of the people on the map creation side of the community, as designing a vault is kind of difficult when there's already many different ideas in the game. I guess if I had to come up with my own, I would go with the idea of a hidden vault. Essentially, you have a room that's got many hidden puzzles. Players go inside and each time the vault is generated for the robbery, it is opened using a different switch inside the room. Kind of like an escape room. The challenge is to find the vault. The same would go for the escape, as I'd imagine once you open the bank door, the entrance would close, meaning you'd be sealed away from the cops to give yourself time to find the exit. Let's go into tier 3. The tier 3 possible robbery scenario is a revamp. Now so far in Jailbreak, we have had many robbery revamps. The bank and the jewelry store have seen their fair share of refreshes, and so have the trains as well. The museum has been revamped too, and oh yeah, the power plant as well. So that only really leaves 2 possible options. And yes, I consider the tomb, the casino, the cargo boat, and Rig are 2 new or honestly good enough to not need a revamp, which leaves the cargo plane. This robbery has been begging for air for years. It literally needs a revamp. The one thing that needs to be changed up is how you actually rob it. It's an extremely boring robbery, with the only interesting parts being make sure no cops get on the plane and jumping out at the end. Recently, the development that badimo made to ensure that position of players appears the same for everyone on moving robberies could actually aid them in fixing up this robbery. To be honest, I think there should be some kind of protection for the crates, and as a result, a bigger incentive. A puzzle like the power plant or some kind of code you have to crack could be a good idea, and the theming of the plane could be made much more high-tech in general, as they corresponded with the lore for some random reason, I don't know, dude. But overall, a plane revamp is really the only viable option. So right now, it's definitely the cargo plane, not being updated in nearly 6 years. So yeah, on to tier 4. Finally, we're at the part of the video where we can have a look at new robbery concepts. This is adding new robberies entirely. Adding new robberies requires a lot of thought about logistics, how much it'll give, the difficulty level, etc. Tier 4 will be covering what I'd personally want to see, and then Tier 5 has been universally loved one for years. So starting with my personal opinion on Tier 4, it would be a racing robbery. Jailbreak is basically a glorified car game at this point, as cars and cosmetics have been the staple of every update from 2024 onwards up until the hiring of Epic Tank. But even with all these cars, there's really no car-centric robbery that forces you to be skilled with driving the entire game. I mean, I guess the power plant is close, but that's just one out of the entire game, and it's a bit mundane just going the best route every time. So I would propose a street race robbery, which I stole from a Reddit post. But I would like to expand on the logistics of it just a little bit. Firstly, I can't imagine using the giant racetrack Jailbreak added, because it would be so inconvenient to have loaded in a public server. So let's make this fun. The robbery will be activated by going inside this building in the city. This is formerly the crew building, and crews have just been removed, which is perfect. The building will be hollowed out again and used for queuing up for racing. And then there'll be course voting. You could pick a sprint track from Crater to Rising, some laps around Rising City, or even a cross-country off-terrain track. And the incentive, 10,000 for the winner. Now, the one thing that limits this is cheating, as you would definitely need a lot of cheating preventions. So it would be better if this was added when Jailbreak really cracks down on exploiters. But honestly, this could bring so much replayability to the game. I think a racing robbery purely dedicated to racing and using the cars you've grinded for is such a fun idea. And the new racetrack is definitely a good start, but adding a cash incentive is probably the next step. So yeah, that's tier 4. That would be my ideal robbery. It's time for tier 5, the dealership robbery. This has been a coveted idea in the Jailbreak community for years at this point, as a dealership just sounds like a quintessential robbery in a cops and robbers game with a heavy focus on cars. Now in my eyes, this is a no-brainer to add to the game, as it has potential, given it involves cars, to be an extremely fun robbery and very replayable. Now what inspired this video, and this tier in specific, was Metalsentry's dealership robbery. This is a multi-stage robbery which involves going and infiltrating the CEO's personal car collection by disabling security and then stealing the cars from the ground floor, to then drive to the cargo port to cash in for a hefty reward. Genuinely, this has potential to be the next best thing in Jailbreak robberies. A very detailed concept that Metalsentry made, and I can see it logistically working. But would badimo actually choose to add something like this? Very hard to say. Obviously, they make their own robberies, they don't take Roblox studio submissions, but I do think a dealership is probably on the cards for the next major robbery, and obviously, it's got to be in Crater City. But before they add a new robbery, Asimo has clearly been stating that the main gameplay needs to be fixed, as the game definitely needs a lot of surgery to restore it to what it once was. But I think personally a good time to add a robbery could be lining up with Season 30, as it's such a monumental milestone and could be a great time to add a dealership, along with that coveted second racing season that a lot of Jailbreak creators really want. I would be confident that if they are to add a new one, it would probably be the dealership, just because I've seen so many dealership concepts at this point. And shout out to Metalsentry for making his concept, because it's a brilliant video. I'll link it in the description.
So now it's time for my final prediction. And if you guys want me to be realistic, of course it's a small store. Epic Tank is gonna get a small store, and I'm gonna be right, okay? I said this first, trademark, Theo gone. I think it'll happen in probably the winter update because they'll want some small content on the side, but I bet that Epic Tank will get a small store in that update. Like, seriously. There might well be a dealership in the future, but for now, I'm predicting the small store is probably the most likely. So yeah, if you enjoyed, subscribe. If you didn't, leave a hateful comment, and I'll see you guys later.